My name is Hannah Blake. I'm 30 years old. On the morning of my engagement party, I walked into a fully decorated venue, tables set for 80 people, and a message from my sister that said, I told everyone not to come. At first, I thought it was a joke. By 9:15 a.m., I realized it wasn't. She had called every single guest, friends, family, coworkers, even people she barely knew. She told them I was hiding something. That my fiancé didn't know the truth about me. That showing up would only make things worse. And just like that, no one came. I stood there in heels that suddenly felt too tight, staring at empty chairs, and for the first time in my life, I didn't cry. But before I tell you what happened next, I need to take you back 3 weeks earlier, to the night my sister looked at me and said, "You're making a mistake you won't recover from." I grew up in a town where everyone knew everyone. The kind of place where people don't just watch your life, they narrate it. My sister Lauren was 4 years older than me. She was the one people admired, the one teachers trusted, the one my parents used as the standard. And I was the comparison. Not bad, just never enough. But what I didn't understand growing up was this. Lauren didn't just want to succeed. She needed me to fail. I met Daniel when I was 26. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't loud, but he was steady in a way I had never experienced before. Being with him felt quiet, safe, like I didn't have to earn my place. Lauren noticed that immediately, and she didn't like it. The first time they met, she smiled too much, asked too many questions. Then, halfway through dinner, she said, "So what exactly are your intentions with my sister?" Daniel didn't hesitate to build a life with her. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. After we got engaged, things started going wrong. Small things at first. The venue asked about changes I never requested. The caterer confirmed a menu I didn't choose. The photographer mentioned a new timeline. At first, I blamed stress. Then I started paying attention. 3 weeks before the party, Lauren showed up at my apartment unannounced. She sat down like she owned the place and said, "I saw Daniel with another woman." My stomach dropped. "Where?" I asked. "A restaurant downtown." "Which one?" She paused. "I don't remember the name." That was all I needed. I called Daniel on speaker. "Hey, quick question, were you downtown Thursday?" "Yeah, work dinner with my team." "Why?" I looked at her. She didn't blink. "Maybe I was mistaken," she said. Then she added softly, "But the fact that you trust him more than your own sister says a lot." That night I sat in my car and made a list. What I would lose if I kept pretending everything was fine. Daniel, my peace, my future. And then Daniel said something that changed everything. What if she actually tries to ruin it? I wanted to laugh. But I didn't, because deep down I knew she could. So we made a second plan, a backup guest list. Not people who felt obligated to come, people who chose to. My best friend Chloe handled everything. If anything happens, she said, I'll get people there. Now back to that morning. The empty room, the silent chairs, the message on my phone. I told everyone not to come. My hands were steady as I read it, because something inside me had already shifted. I wasn't afraid anymore. I called Chloe. She did it. "I know," she said. "People are already on their way." The first person arrived at 9:40, then 3 more, then 10, then 20. Within an hour, the room wasn't empty anymore. It was full, not of obligation, but of intention. Coworkers who swapped shifts, neighbors who brought flowers, friends who drove 2 hours with no explanation, even people I hadn't seen in years. They didn't come because someone told them to. They came because they wanted to. At 10:30, Lauren showed up. She stood in the doorway, scanning the room like she didn't understand what she was seeing. "This wasn't supposed to happen," she said. I walked up to her. "No," I said calmly. "It wasn't supposed to go your way." She tried to explain. Said she was protecting me. That she knew things I didn't. But for the first time in my life, I didn't argue. I didn't defend. I just said, "You don't get to control my life anymore." She left. No apology, no accountability, just silence. And then the music started again. People laughed, glasses clinked, someone pulled me onto the dance floor. And in that moment I realized something. Nothing had been ruined, it had been revealed. A week later, the truth spread. Not because I told it, because people saw it. They compared stories, noticed inconsistencies, started asking questions. Lauren's version stopped working. We don't speak anymore. Not because I hate her, but because I finally understand something I wish I knew years ago. You can love someone and still choose distance. If you're listening to this and something feels familiar, hear me clearly. You are not required to stay in relationships that shrink you. You are not obligated to tolerate control disguised as care. And you absolutely do not need permission to build a life that feels like yours. That day wasn't perfect. The schedule was off, the decorations were mismatched, the playlist cut out twice, but every single person in that room chose to be there. And that made it perfect in the only way that matters. That night, after everyone left, I sat on the floor of our apartment, still in my dress. Makeup slightly smudged, hair half falling out of its pins. Daniel sat next to me, back against the couch, legs stretched out. We didn't talk for a while. We just sat there in the quiet that comes after something breaks and something new begins. "Are you okay?" he asked finally. I thought about it. About the empty chairs that morning. About my sister standing in that doorway. About the version of my life I had been trying to hold together for years. "I think," I said slowly, "this is the first time I actually am." The next morning, I woke up to 32 unread messages. Not accusations this time. Apologies. Let the truth exist on its own. 3 days later, my mother called. Not my parents, not a shared contact, just my mother. I answered. "Hannah," she said, her voice tight, controlled. "Your sister is very upset." Of course she is, I thought. She told me what happened. My mother continued. "She was trying to protect you." There it was, the same script, different voice. "She lied to 80 people," I said calmly. "She tried to isolate me on one of the most important days of my life." Silence, then softly, "She's your sister." I closed my eyes, and for the first time, that sentence didn't carry weight. It didn't pull me back. It just existed. "And I'm your daughter," I replied, "and I deserve to feel safe in my own life." Another silence, longer this time. "I think," I added, "I need some distance." She didn't argue, but she didn't agree either. We hung up somewhere in between. A week later, something arrived in the mail. No return address. Inside was a folded piece of paper. Lauren's handwriting. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. "I don't understand why you're doing this," it said. "I was trying to help you. One day you'll see that." No apology, no accountability. Just confusion and control wrapped in concern. I folded it back up, put it in a drawer, not as a memory, but as a reminder. Life didn't magically become perfect after that. There were quiet moments, awkward family silences, missed holidays, questions I didn't always know how to answer. But something fundamental had shifted. For the first time in my life, my peace wasn't dependent on someone else's approval. Daniel and I moved 2 months later. Not far, just far enough. A small house with too much sunlight and not enough furniture. We built it slowly, shelf by shelf, meal by meal, routine by routine, no pressure, no performances, just us. Chloe came over always with coffee, always with something honest to say. "You're different," she told me once. "Yeah," I said. "I don't feel like I'm waiting for something anymore." 6 months passed, then one morning I got another message from my father. Just one line. "I heard you're doing well." That was it. No questions, no demands. Just a door, slightly open. I didn't answer right away, not because I didn't care, but because now I got to choose when and how. A year later, we got married. A small ceremony, fewer people, like stronger presence. No drama, no interference. Just people who showed up without being asked twice. When I walked down the aisle, I didn't look for my sister. I didn't look for approval. I looked at Daniel, and I walked forward. If you're still here, I want you to hear this part clearly. Sometimes the thing that breaks your life is the thing that finally shows you it was never stable to begin with. And sometimes, losing people is how you find yourself. I didn't lose everything that day. I lost the illusion that love should hurt, and that made space for something better, something real.